We still do 7 NUFC Matters show a week for free. But if you want to help support NUFC Matters, then there are a few ways of doing it. Hit the like button on each live broadcast and video. This helps the channel grow. Hit the subscribe button and select the all notifications bell so you don't miss a single show. If you want to help us financially, then you can join the channel using this button with the membership starting at $1.99 a month. Or you can drop us a donation in the chat using a super sticker. We're also looking for sponsors. If you'd like your brand advertised on the flyers for the show and featured during the ad break, then email John at nufcmatters.com to arrange today.
Critics attack. It feels like I've been talking to myself again. But it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot say to you. If I don't say the words, then maybe it's not true.
And it feels alright when they come and say to you, you're the only thing that makes us all believe. And it feels alright where the worlds collide. Manipulation stands to make us break.
What's that you said coming over you? You wish it upon a star. You wish it on a star. You are, you are, you are. You fight back, it's an all-out attack. It feels like I've been taken on the world's machine. Because I want it more than anyone can dream. You look back and it's all in the past. You tell me how you live by all the things you do. Well, you can be yourself, but maybe I'm not you.
And it feels alright when they come and say to you, you're the only thing that makes us all.
Welcome to NUFC Matters. It is time for another Those Were the Days, and it's time to hand over to George. What season are we looking back on today, George?
2015-16, Steve, and as people would say as they tune in, it's a season to remember, but not always for the right reasons. Yeah, memorable season, but not always for the right reasons. Just to put, as I usually do, set the scene. The music at the time, Eliseo was Top of the Pops with Heroes. We Could Be. Philip George with Wish You Were Mine. Kareem Taylor with Promises. Meghan Trainor with Lips Are Moving. And a little bit further down, 4 5 Seconds, Rihanna, Kanye West, and Paul McCartney. So that was the music, and I have to say none of that is particularly at the front of my mind. I can barely remember, only the names I can remember, not the music. And if you've got the pictures, you've got the cinema. Mad Max Fury Road was making a lot of money. Carol, The Martian, Brooklyn, Spotlight, and It Follows, all making lots of money at the cinema for those that were in it and making it. And in terms of the season starting, it gives you some idea what kind of season. Incomings at Newcastle before this season was about 6, outgoings 17. So it gives you an idea of where we're going. Anyway, let's get down to the football. And as always, we start with a whole range of friendlies. And the strips and things are going through now, and I always like to record those too, just to remind you where we are. Actually, I thought those strips were quite tidy, but not everybody liked the white on the back of that one. But
A lot of
anyway,
people didn't like the Wonga either, George.
No, that's true. And I think that got worse as time went on. Friendlies, Gateshead, 1-0 win at Gateshead. Club Atlas 2-1. Sacramento Republic. These are American teams in pre-season. Portland Timbers, and then a game away at Sheffield United, and York City, and then a final friendly before the season kicked off, the Saturday before the season kicked off, against Borussia Mönchengladbach at St James's, and we managed to lose that 1-0. A goal scored by Hazard, who was had just gone back to the continent, having spent time at Chelsea, but still a very tidy player. So we get into the season. We're playing in the Premier League. We're playing in the League Cup, the Capital One Cup, as they called it then, and the FA Cup. And let's see where we went. First game of the season was a home game against Southampton in the Premiership. And if we're going to do anything this season, Southampton are the sort of teams that we should be seeing off. Well, it was an interesting game of football, some end-to-end stuff. But Southampton were given as good as they got. And we started the season with Krull, Janmat, Mememba, Colaccini, Haidara, Anita, Colback, Sissoko, Winningham, and Orbitan and Cisse. And on the bench was Tiote, Mitrovic, and De Jong, and Perez and Darlow. Southampton had Skettelberg in goal, Soares, Fonte at fullbacks, Yoshida, Target, Davis in midfield, Winyama, Tadic, Mane, Rodriguez, and Pele in their side. Good football on side, some good footballers. Interestingly, on the bench, a young man called Ward Prowse, who was to become quite a stalwart for them and make quite a name for himself as a dead ball specialist, as we all know, sometimes to our cost. But a tidy game of football. It was 49,700 in the ground, so a good crowd for a first match against Southampton, particularly how badly we'd played towards the end of the previous season. It was end-to-end stuff for the first half, and no surprise in many ways when their dangerous forward, left-sided attacker called Pele opened the scoring on 24 minutes, give them the lead. And then just before half-time, Papi Cisse scored a peach of a goal to make it 1-1, and we went in at 1-1 at half-time. Second half was much the same, except we set off at a much better pace, and at 48 minutes, Windjam made it 2-1 to us, and it looked like we were going to coast. But we didn't coast for long because Southampton came right back into it, and it was a little surprise to anybody on 79 minutes when Long, a dangerous centre-forward, experienced centre-forward, made it 2-2. Then after that, it was a bit of the backs to the wall for Newcastle. We got the 2-2, but I have to say we're hanging on by the skin of our teeth. The only notable thing in the second half was that the substitutes, Tiote came on for Anita, Mitrovic for Cisse, and De Jong for Windjam. And Mitrovic had no sooner been on, and he was booked for silly off-the-ball antics, which kind of characterised a bit what he was going to be like in the future. The next game is an away game at Swansea. We went away to Swansea, and again, doing anything in the league, they're the sort of team we should be taking points off. Well, we never did. We never looked like being in this game, even though it was Swansea. Unchanged team for us, and Swansea team, Fabianski, who's still the second goalkeeper at West Ham at the moment, so he's getting on a bit. Norton, Fernandez, Williams, Taylor, Cork, Shelvey, John Joe Shelvey, AU, Sigerson, Monteiro, and Gomez, and good footballing side, and which footballing side wouldn't be with Shelvey in the team, and they just took the game off us. We never really challenged them in this game, and it was no surprise when Gomez on 9 minutes out jumped our defence at a corner and made it 1-0, and that's how it stayed to half time. The second half was no better for Newcastle because the Swansea controlled it. We hardly attacked their goal. It was such a poor game from us, which is unusual when we've got Papi Sissi in the team, and we came a bit more lively when the subs went on, and young Aarons came on for Sissi and Mitrovic for Orbitan. At least Mitrovic put himself about a little bit, so to the point that he got booked against 2 games, 2 bookings. It sort of tells you something about the lad. 2 book for Swansea, but it wasn't a dirty game. It was the bookings were for nonsense. Mitrovic again off the ball stuff, but a 2-0 loss, which was very, very disappointing before a 22,000 crowd at Swansea. We then moved to another away game, but this one a bit more of a challenge at Manchester United, and as always at Old Trafford, got to be on my mettle for that. And I've got to say that they stepped up to the plate. Slightly changed team with Colaccini coming in and Member moving over to right back, Taylor coming in at left back. It left defensive midfield, and then Haidara, Colback, Anita, Windjam, Orbitan, Perez, and Mitrovic. And Manchester United, Romero, Darmian, Smalling, Blind, Shaw. Actually, I think it's pronounced Blind, the Danish pronunciation. Shaw, Schneiderlin, Schweinsteiger, Mata, Janhuzi, Memphis, and Rooney, and with Carrick and Hernandez and Valencia on the bench for them, and McNair. They still a formidable team. However, we gave as good as we got. It was end-to-end stuff without anybody really threatening the goal. I think even when Rooney was hard pressed to bother Krul, and so it was no surprise at half time it was 0-0. Come out the second half, repeated the first. It was some good football, some interesting play, but no real chances, and nobody upsetting either Krul or Romero in the Manchester goal. It really was a 0-0, but not an uninteresting 0-0. It wasn't dire. It was still some good football played. So we move on to the next game, which is against Northampton in the League Cup, the Capital One Cup, and we're at home to Northampton, and well, I think everybody's hoping that we play to form and dispatch Northampton, who are way below us and shouldn't be a threat. However, game starts off and it looks like we're going to be on form because Thauvin, the French winger, scores a lovely goal on 3 minutes. 8 minutes, De Jong scores the second, so it looks like we're going to course this. And then on 10 minutes, Richards for Northampton pulls one back, and we go in at half time at 2-1, and everybody's hoping that we wake up in the second half, and we do. The much better second half with us well in control. And 56-minute Jalmat scores a peach of a drive from the edge of the box. Then Williamson, a header from a corner on 63, makes it 4-1. So we're going through 4-1 on this round of the League Cup. Our team slightly changed from the league team. Darlow, Jamat, Lascelles, Williamson, Haidara, Tiote, Gouffron, Aarons, De Jong, Thorvin, and Perez. And Northampton, Clark, Wilson, Taylor, Yates, Buchanan, Potter, Adams, Byram, MacDonald, Cresswell, Richards. And on their bench, a teenager called Calvert-Lewin. When I saw this, I hadn't had time to look at it, but I suspect it's not the Calvert-Lewin we see now, I don't think, but it certainly could be a relative of his. So a nice, comfortable ride through to the next round of the League Cup, which is a refreshing change for Newcastle fans, because we stumbling at that first hurdle is par for the course for us, I'm afraid. The next game's a bit more testing for us, a home game against Arsenal, who are regarded as one of the front runners in the Premiership, likely to be there or thereabouts at the end of the season. And we referred to the league, the Premier League setup for the team instead of the cup setup, with Krull back in goal, Jalmad, the member, Colaccini, Haidara, Anita Colbacks, Sissoko, Windjam, Thorvin, and Mitrovic. And we've similar team to what we set off with, except Cisse is on the bench with Perez and De Jong instead of Mitrovic. And the Arsenal team, Petr Cech, who just moved from Chelsea, Bellerin, Palusta, Koscielny, Monreal, Colachin, Cazorla, Oxlade, Chamberlain, Ramsey, Sanchez, and Walcott. And on the bench, a man called Arteta, which is interesting to modern day. A good game. We give as good as we got. People were expecting we might get into hot water with this one. 51,000 at the ground, so people are expecting an interesting game, and why not against Arsenal? We give as good as we got. No surprise when it went in 0-0 at half time, because not a lot of chances. Neither goalkeepers, Cech or Krull, had to make many saves. But not even can't even say there was lots of strikes of the woodwork, because there wasn't. It was an interesting game of football, and for the fans to watch. Second half, slightly different in as much that Arsenal came out and looked as though they really wanted to win it. And for the first 10 minutes, we hardly touched the ball, and so it was little surprise when on 52 minutes we went down 1-0, and an unfortunate goal. It was a good strike by Ramsey, and unfortunately it hit Colaccini on the shoulder and flew past Krull to give them the 1-0 lead. It was a good game to the end. We didn't give up. We kept trying. But towards the end, it started to get a bit nasty. It got, in fact, very nasty. And we had Bookens, Sissoko, Member, Thorvin, Anita Windjam, Colaccini, and Mitrovic. And Cazorla for Arsenal. And then lo and behold, Mitrovic gets himself sent off for violent conduct, and again writes another chapter in his own questionable history at Newcastle United. So we lose 1-0, but in terms of the fact that we struggled for a while with 10 men plus who were playing, 1-0 wasn't a desperately bad result. But considering how well we played, it was a shame that we lost it all. Next game is an away game at West Ham, and one which West Ham are, like ourselves, not regarded as championship contenders, but certainly a good football team. We go with an unchanged team: Krul, Jamat, member, Colaccini, Haidara, Anita, Colback, Sissoko, Windjam, Thorvin, and Sisi's in because Mitrovic is banned because he got sent off in the previous game. West Ham, Randolph, Tompkins, Reed, Obonga, Cresswell, Noble, Coyote, Moses, Payet, Lanzini, and Sacco. Good football inside, reputation that they have, and so it was. It was an interesting first half. Little bit of end-to-end stuff, but no real threat on the goal. They did get a goal in 9 minutes through Payet, but it was a something and nothing. It was from a corner. He just lost his marker, and we ended up one down, and that's how it stayed till half time. The second half, when West Ham played a little bit more brightly, we tended to be defending most of the time, and Krul making one or two very, very good saves to keep winning the game, actually. And then 48 minutes, Payet had scored again to make it 2-0, a beautiful goal this time. But we couldn't get back in. Huff and puff as we tried. It wasn't going to be our day. West Ham got a 2-0 victory, and it was a deserved 2-0 victory. So the next game is a home game against Watford. Now, Watford definitely a team we should be thinking about beating. We shouldn't be struggling against them, but unfortunately, wasn't to be. From the off, Watford seemed up for it more than we were, and it was one of those games you just felt from the off that the opposition was more into it than we were. Our team was unchanged. Krul, Jamat, Colaccini, Member, Haidara, Coolback, Windjam, Sissoko, Thorvin, Perez, and Sissi. And Watford, Gomez, who just got from Spurs, Naum, Prod, Cathcart, Anya, Capute, Watson, Abidi, Igalo, Girardo, and Dini. Good football side, but they shouldn't be the sort of side that's troubling us the way they were. So it was disappointing, but no surprise when Igalo on 10 minutes give them the lead. Then 28 minutes, the same player who we didn't seem to be able to get hands on at all, big centre forward, scored a second on 28 to make it 2-0. And that's how it stayed till half time. And it was quite, to say it was disappointing is putting it mildly. I remember people around me were getting really, really upset and shouting things at the dugout at McLaren. But not surprising, we really, we look like the away team, not the home team. Second half comes out, and at least we brighten up and we start to have a go. And the part of the improvement was that they brought De Jong on for Sisi, who looked injured, and Aarons came on as well. And Aarons made a difference. He was much more lively. And we started to press Watford, but we couldn't make any impact at first. Then suddenly on 62 minutes, Jamat, the fullback, scored one of his pile drivers to make it 2-1. And so for the last 15 minutes or so, we made life hard for Watford, but it was the first time in the game that we had. There were 3 bookings, but it wasn't that sort of game. They were much ado about nothing. Callback for us. Abidi and Capote for them. But Watford hung on and went out 2-1 winners, and rightly so. It wasn't. We really weren't in this game, which is quite sad. We then have Sheffield Wednesday in the Capital One Cup, with at home 33,000 at the game, which is a bit disappointing. But we once again let ourselves down quite badly. We unchanged team. McLaren decided to go for the game and unchanged team. But the Sheffield Wednesday team, which is a mixture of youngsters and old hands like Des Wilson, etc., really just dug their heels in. We couldn't make an impression, so it was no surprise to go in 0-0 at half time. In second half, expecting us to waken up, and maybe Mitrovic, who was on then, and Ivan Toney came on as well as a substitute. First time we'd seen him, and people were hopeful that would change things. Well, it didn't, because Sheffield stepped up as well, and their dangerous midfielder called McGuigan on 76 minutes scored a peach of a goal from nowhere and gave them a 1-0 lead. And despite huffing and puffing, we couldn't make a dent on Sheffield Wednesday. And that was the end of our trip to the Capital Cup, which was more than disappointing, because it was a good opportunity to progress. But that was the dismal end, as it has been for so many seasons in the Capital Cup, to a lower division team. And the next game is a home game against Chelsea. Now, Chelsea are one of the front runners in the Premiership, so this is not going to be an easy game. It's one where we have to have our wits about us. We go in with a unchanged team: Krul, Jamat Member, Colaccini, Sissoko, Anita Colback, Winjam. And the one change is that De Jong's dropped and Perez is brought in at the starting lineup. Interesting first half when stuff, one or two chances, and then right on half time, 42 minutes, Perez scores a beautiful goal from just inside the area to give us a 1-0 lead, and we go in 1-0 at half time. And we actually did play some good football in this game. I can remember being at this one, and after half time, it looked like we were going to pick up where we left off, because we gave Chelsea as good as we were getting. And on 60 minutes, the Windjam scored the second goal, and we went 2-0 up, and everybody thought, well, there's 3 points in the bag. But that was wasn't counting on Chelsea's resilience, because on 79 minutes, Ramirez scored to make it 2-1, and then on 86 minutes, William, who's a name we still hear today, as he's still playing, made it 2-2, and that's how it stayed till the end. So a bit disappointed to throw the 2 points away, but nonetheless, against Chelsea, it was good to hold on. The Chelsea team: Bergovic, Ivanovic, Zuma, Cahill, Azpilicueta, Matic, Fabregas, Pedro, Oscar, Hazard, and Remy. The Newcastle team, as I say, apart from Perez, was unchanged. Nothing in terms of major interest in the bookings. Colback got a booking, which was his fourth of the season, which was very early. And Ivanovic and Pedro for Chelsea got booked, but it wasn't it was a dirty game. But it was an interesting 2-2 draw and a reasonably good game of football, which at the end of the day is something, because at the time we weren't playing particularly well, and we were losing the sides that we shouldn't really have been losing to. The next game is a one which we faced with a little bit of trepidation, to go to Manchester City, and they're playing out of their skins, and again, hotly tipped to be thereabouts at the end of the season for the Championship, Premiership, Championship. Our team, Krul, Jamat, Member, Colaccini, Mabu, Anita, Gufran comes in, Sissoko, Winjam, Mitrovic, and Perez has kept his place. Manchester City, Joe Hart in goal, Zabaleta, Otamendi, Malanga, Kolarov, Fernandinho, Silva, De Bruyne, Sterling, Aguero. Because we're starting to see names that are familiar to people. De Bruyne making a debut in this match. Sterling and Aguero. Unfortunately, we flattered to deceive. First half, we set off quite fast. Thought, right, we might get something out of this game. And on 18 minutes, Mitrovic scores a peach of a goal. One, in my opinion, one of the best goals he scored for Newcastle. And we looked like we were coasting to a 1-0 at half time. The right hand half time, Aguero got the ball, dribbled through the defence without a tackle, and slotted the ball under Krul to make it 1-1 at half time. Nevertheless, it looked like we were giving the City a game. And then after half time, I don't know what they had in the tea, but they just were a different team second half. And 49 minutes, not long after the kickoff, Aguero made it 2. 50 minutes, Aguero made it 3. 53 minutes, De Bruyne made it 4. And 60 minutes, Aguero made it 5. And 62 minutes, Aguero made it 6. So there's 5 Aguero goals and a De Bruyne goal to make it a 6-1 scoreline. And we were just overrun. The only way to describe it. Not a chance of coming back or anything. And that we were just so bad. It was unbelievable. But on the other hand, you can't take it away from City. They were just playing out of their skin and their skin. And Aguero particularly, and De Bruyne, just tore us apart and left us with a nasty 6-1 defeat. The manner of it was quite depressing. Home game against Norwich City, who aren't great shapes, are bumping along the bottom of the Premiership. We're not too far above them, and we field a slightly changed team. Elliott comes into goal because Krul's got an injury. Jalmet Dummett comes in at left back. Member, Colaccini, Sissoko, Tiote's in at the side in the midfield. Colback, Winjam, Perez, and Mitrovic. Norwich City come with, as I say, not a huge reputation because they're bumping along the bottom of the league at the moment, but some familiar names. Ruddy in goal, who's a name that's come back to Newcastle United in recent weeks. Whittaker, Martin, Basong, who used to be ours, Olsen, Redmond, Durrance, Tetley, Brady, Howson, and Mabukani. Howson, of course, has spent quite some time at Middlesbrough in recent years as well. So names that we know. Now, anybody that was at main row at the City of Manchester Stadium and came to watch this game would not believe it was the same Newcastle United. From the off, we had a go at Norwich, and it was end-to-end stuff. 14 minutes, Winjam scored. 20 minutes, Makabuke, Makani for Norwich made it 1-1. 26 minutes, Winjam made it 2-1. Redmond on 34 minutes, and Perez on 33 minutes makes it 3-1. Redmond for them on 34 minutes makes it 3-2. So that the teams and the fans go into half time quite breathless because it's been end-to-end stuff and some exciting football. you couldn't say that the defending was very good to go in 3-2 at half time. It wasn't exactly would saying a lot for how we defended, but at least we went in and playing some good football. Windjam, as people probably gather from the goals he's already scored in this game, was on fire, was untouchable, and given Norwich real headache. Come out after the half time, and we pick up where we left off, and there's all sorts of shots flying past the Norwich goal. Ruddy making some good saves from Mitrovic and Perez, particularly. And then on 64 minutes, Mitrovic does get a goal to make it 4-2. Then Windjam on 66 minutes, 85 minutes scores 2 more, and suddenly it's 6-2. And as I say, anybody who was at the City of Manchester Stadium and saw this one wouldn't believe it was the same team, because we played superbly, but largely because Windjam was really on form, almost untouchable. I think also Toyota in midfield had a bit of bite that was missing at Manchester. So there we are. We got a 6-2 victory, which helped to pick us off the bottom of the league and pushed Norwich, of course, further down towards the bottom of the league. The next game is the away game at the Stadium of Light, the first of the derby games. Well, we want to get amongst them. 48,000 at the game. They're not great shakes in terms of the league. We're neck and neck with each other. You know, each week it changes depending who wins and who loses. Well, it's unchanged team for us. Elliott, Jarmat, Member, Colaccini, Dummett, Sissoko, Toyota, Colback, Windjam, Perez, and Mitrovic. And for our neighbours, Pantalon, Yedlin, O'Shea, Kabul, Jones, Catamol, Via, Johnson, Tullanoven, Lenz, and Fletcher, with Defoe on the bench and Coates on the bench and Larson on the bench. All significant players in the past for them, giving us a headache at times, particularly Defoe. End-to-end stuff, first half, and it looked like it's going to go into half-time with nil. Then right on half-time, a really bad tackle by Dummett gives them a penalty, and Johnson steps up and takes it. And so they hardly time to spot the ball when the half-time whistle goes, and they go in with a 1-0 victory. But everybody, certainly that I was with, was convinced there was enough in the team to pick that back and maybe have a go at Sunderland. Well, what a disappointment we had. We just didn't come out after half time. The game was all them from end to end, giving us all sorts of problems. And it would be nice to be able to say that they kicked us off the pitch. Well, there wasn't even a single problem in the second half. We had a problem with Colaccini in the first half, of course, who not long after half time was booked and looked like he might get sent off. But they just took the game from us. They substituted Defoe and Coates and Larson. And Defoe and Coates give our defence the runaround. Defoe particularly was really hot, and no surprise when on 65 Jones made it 2, and Fletcher in 86 made it 3. So they ran out 3-0 winners, which was more than disappointing. Because it was a game that we should have been into, and bearing in mind that we're both needing the points because we're both scrambling around the bottom of the league. So our next game's a home game against Stoke City. Stoke City, and one of the teams we should be beating if we're going to make any sense in this Premiership. With Unchanged team with Elliott still in goal because of Crowell's injury. And Stoke come with names because we start to recognise: Butler, Johnson, Shawcross, Woolsheld, Peters, Adam, Charlie Adam, Wellen, Shaqiri, Kuric, Aronotovic, and Walters. Good footballing side, but one that we should be taking, in this game. Interesting names on the bench: Peter Crouch, Ireland, who played for us a little, and Haj Diouf, of course, who was a nightmare sometimes, but a very, very tricky player. First half, very ordinary. Neither Butland or Elliott had a real save to make. And I can't even say that there was lots of hitting the woodwork, because there wasn't. It was a midfield battle for the whole of the half. Never ever looked like there was going to be a goal. In the second half, everybody was hoping that things might change. Well, it didn't. It was exactly the same. Stuck in the middle of the park. Each team 5-6 midfielders in the middle of the field all the time, and clearly heading for a 0-0. The plus was to see Tiote on the sort of form he had been in before, and really putting a shift in to wedge up our defence as well as support the attack. But a dismal 0-0 in the end. I can't even remember a single incident which I could call a real goal threat. Mitrovic got booked again for something off the ball, and Stoke had Adam Aratovic and Woolshield, one of their substitutes, who came on and got booked almost straight away. But a dismal 0-0 draw, but a point at least, which helps to keep us in the right part of the table instead of languishing so far down at the bottom. Now, our next game is away to Bournemouth, and it a game that we should be thinking about, because Bournemouth are no great shakes, but the way things have been going, it's difficult to predict. We've got an unchanged side with Elliott still in goal, and Perez holding his place in the side, which is for me was good news, because I always like the style of Perez. Bournemouth, Federici in goal, Smith, Francis, Distin, who's a name we recall from way back playing for us, Daniels, Ritchie. Now, that Ritchie was soon to become our Ritchie, because that's the Matt Ritchie that come to play for us. Sermon, Gosling, of course, who also played for us, Stanislas, Arter, and King. The King mentioned there, we were interested in him for a little while, but the interest never come to anything. But quite a good football game, and we're not lying back as a away team. We're actually having a go at this one, and so it's no surprise when on 27 minutes Perez scores a peach of a goal from absolutely nothing. But he turns a nice long ball from Sissoko into the net, and with a touch of the outside of his foot, and we go in at half time 1-0. As expected, Bournemouth come out all guns blazing second half, but we stand firm with Colaccini outstanding, and Dummett having quite a good game as well. After the hour, Sisi went on for Mitrovic, Thauvin for Perez, and Mabu for Anita. Sisi made it a bit more lively up front, but we had no difficulty holding on to the 1-0 victory, which was very pleasing because, again, it's keeping us away from the wrong end of the league. The next game is a home game against Leicester City. Now, Leicester City aren't doing very much, aren't cock of the roost, as it were. They're really very ordinary and shouldn't be a trouble to us. But then that's being a trouble to a fan when you're a Newcastle fan isn't always what you expect. The game gets off to a very, very dull start, but then just before half time, Vardy, the dangerous centre forward, just outruns our defence and leaves Colaccini and Dummett and Janmat in his wake to make it 1-0 right on half time. So Leicester go in 1-0 in the lead. The second half, people think, well, it's 1-0, we're still in it, we'll have a go and we'll get that back. Well, the people that had a go were Leicester. They actually turned the screw on us and really had a go at us. No surprise when on 62 minutes, Ulua, the dangerous attacking centre forward, made it 2-0, and Okazaki, Japanese winger, made it 3-0 on 83 minutes. And we never looked like we would get that back, having thought we might change in the second half. It didn't pan out that way. The only other thing to note is that Sterry made his debut as a substitute, and Leicester had bought Huth from Stoke, but Schmeichel was in goal. Simpson, who we did know, Huth, Morgan, Fuchs, Mahrez, dangerous winger, Kante, Drinkwater, Albrighton, Ulua, and Jamie Vardy. But again, we home game we gave away and turned us on our heads in terms of the league position. So in previous one had sent us up 3 or 4 places. This loss sends us down 3 or 4 places to where we don't want to be. There were 4 bookings on our side: Anita, Dummett, Perez, and Sissoko, and Huth for them. But it wasn't a dirty game. It was more handbags at 10 paces rather than anything really dirty. So we are away to Crystal Palace on the next game and realise that we've got to start thinking about where we are in the league and recovery. Only one change in the team, and that's Sissy is on back into the team, and game sets off, and it looks like it's a sensible choice to put Papi Sissy on, because in 10 minutes he puts 1-0 in the league. Unfortunately, on 14 minutes, MacArthur, their dangerous midfielder, makes it 1-1, and then their dangerous winger Bolassi on 17 minutes makes it 2-1, and then Wilfred Zaha, their other dangerous winger, makes it 3-1. So they go in 3-1 at half time. A lot of hope amongst the away fans that we might claw some of it back, but we never did. Palace had not just held it, but we were troubled for the rest of the second half by Zaha and Balassi, and did no surprise on 47 minutes when Balassi makes it 4-1. Then on 93 minutes, with including extra time, MacArthur makes it, scores his second goal and makes it 5-1. We suffer quite a heavy defeat in a place where we didn't expect to. But 5-1 it ended, and 5-1 it was, and pushed us even harder down towards the wrong end of the league. So we now come home to a home game against Liverpool. Now, we've just had a 6-1 defeat and a 5-1 defeat. Liverpool aren't necessarily the team that you would want to see at St James's Park, but that's who it is. That's who the fixture list throws up. We unchanged team. Sissy stays in the team. and Liverpool come with Mingele, Klein, Skirtle, Lovren, Moreno, Lucas, Allen, Milner, Habib, Firmino, and Benteke at centre forward. Good first half, end-to-end stuff, and we're giving as good as we got, which is refreshing because having had the defeats we just had, there was a worry that we might crumble again against Liverpool. They're not being tipped as champions, but they're still up there with the front runners, and come out in second half, and whatever McLaren said to them at half time, we actually had a go at them, and on 69 minutes we get a corner, and there's a Colaccini volley from a corner which drops at his feet, and it slides off the back of Skirtle into the net. Mingele didn't have a chance to give us a 1-0 lead, so everybody's perked up by that, and the team seemed to be having a go at Liverpool, and it looks like there'd be no goals, but then on 93 minutes, which is 3 minutes over time, Windjam scores a peach of a goal, dribbling through the penalty area and slot the ball under Mingele to make it 2-0. So something of an amazing victory, but a surprising one, because we really, at least I really did, and I know some of my friends did, think that Liverpool were probably going to give us a run around, but they didn't. Next game is an away game at Tottenham Hotspur, and another hard game. Tottenham aren't being tipped as champions, but they're certainly in the top half of the league and playing well with the team that they've got. We're unchanged. We keep Cisse in the team, and so on. Tottenham's team sheet: Loris, Walker, Alderweireld, Vertonghen, Rose, who we eventually got, Dyer, Carroll, Lametta, Ali, Eriksson, and Kane. And lots of names to conjure with there. I mean, Walker and Kane, because still in the current England side, and until recently Dyer was as well. And Rose, of course, came to us eventually, at the wrong side of his career, as it were. We play well. Give as good as we got, but it's 39 minutes. We're very slack at a free kick from Spurs, and Dyer makes it 1-0 for them in 39 minutes, and that's how it stays till half time. Second half's brighter. Both teams seem to be having a go, and then on 74 minutes, a Mitrovic screamer makes it 1-1, and from then Newcastle are in the ascendancy. Were giving Spurs something to think about, and looks like it's going to end up as a 1-1. But then on 93 minutes with extra time, up pops Perez with a peach of a goal from just inside the penalty area. Guide passes the ball into the net rather than shoots it in the net, from a very clever piece of work by Sissoko and Anita between them, and we get a 2-1 victory. Any victory at the moment is hard to get, but the away victory particularly, so that gives us a good boost in terms of our playing and in terms of our position in the league. The next game is a home game against Aston Villa. Villa are a good football side, but not necessarily. That was from the Tottenham game, that picture. The Aston Villa, good football side. Guzan, Hutton at fullback, Okori, Lescott, Buchanan, Guy, Westwood, Veritout, Sanchez, Sinclair, and AU. And we're unchanged. Elliott's still in goal because of Krull's long-term injury. And good football in the first half. 36 minutes, a knockabout or a corner with the ball bouncing around like a pinball, and Colaccini gets the last touch on it to make it 1-0, and that's how it stays at half time. Aston Villa come out and clearly not going to lie down. They're having a good go at this, and particularly AU, the dangerous forward that they've not just bought recently, has given us a lot of hard work to do. And then on 61 minutes, it's no surprise when he makes it 1-1, and that's how it stays to the end. But a good game of football. Villa tend to be a team that looks to play football. 4 bookings, although it wasn't a dirty game. Bakuna, Westwood, and AU for Villa. AU for arguing with the referee. Dummett for a clumsy challenge on AU, who was giving our defence a bad time. So that's how it came out. So the next game is another home game, but to Everton. Now, Everton aren't being regarded as one of the top boys at all either. So at home, we should be taking them, and hopefully that's how it comes. Well, it's how to describe it. We're an unchanged team. That's the first thing. Everton come with Howard, their American goalkeeper, Baines, Morey, Stones, Coleman, Barry, Cleverly, Miralles, Barkley, Lennon, and Lacuco. Dismal game. 0-0 written all over it from the start, with hardly a challenge on either goal. And that looks like it's how it's going to pan out. 0 at half time. Second half starts off in exactly the same way. Crowded midfields, no real threat on goal from either of them. Star of the match is Barkley for Everton, and Winjam for us. And everybody thinks, well, they're going home with a 0-0. And then right the last kick of the game, Cleverly, the highly prized midfielder, scores with a peach of a goal on 90 plus 3 minutes. So the whistle must have been just about to go when he hit this ball, and it screamed into the net before Elliott could move. So we lost what seemed to be an easy point to Everton, 1-0, and we didn't get any points at all, which is worrying because, again, we're plunging in the wrong direction in the league. Next game is an away game at West Brom. Now, West Brom are about like us. They're bounced around the mid to bottom of the table, so not going to be much in this one. So we're all hoping we might at least get a point. Well, we have a change in the team because Elliott is dropped and Darlow is brought into the goal, with Krull still being injured. Otherwise, it's an unchanged team. West Brom, Myhill, Olsen, Jacob, Evans, Johnny Evans, who's still playing, Morrison and Ichibi, Brunt, Macaulay, Fletcher, Dawson, and Segerson. A nice football game is the only way to describe it. End-to-end stuff in the first half, but no real threat on goal. Darlow and Myhill have nothing really to do. And then second half, West Brom pick things up a little bit. Well, it's the home side, you would expect that. Then on 78 minutes, Fletcher scores a peach of a goal from a corner to make it 1-0 to West Brom. Try as we might, we can't put a dent in West Brom. We're still stuck with this 1-0, and that looks like it's how it's going to be. And that's exactly how it stayed. It was 1-0 at the end. Haven't conceded that goal, but we really were not. Didn't look like we were going to get back into this game. So we another loss. As I said, taking us in the wrong direction completely in terms of the league. Now, having lost a home game and then a successive away game, we now have another away game. And in terms of teams wanting to play, it's Arsenal. So we're hoping that we might be able to dig in and at least get a draw out of this, because Arsenal are playing very well. And that's what it looks like up till half time. Teams changed, the goalkeepers are changed again. Darlow's out and Elliott's in. Otherwise, an unchanged team. And Arsenal, virtually the same team, had played at St James's. Cheg, Bellerin, Mertesacker, Colaccini, Monreal, Ramsey, Flamini, Ozil, Oxlade-Chamberlain, Giroud, and Walcott. And Walcott, a teenager, making a big name for himself, having come from Southampton. And same as we've had in other matches, a good showing from us, end-to-end stuff in the first half. No real threat on goal. Then second half, and we're about the same. Everybody's hoping that we might hang on to a 0-0. But then on 72 minutes, Koscielny left unmarked at a corner, and bang, it's 1-0 to Arsenal on 72 minutes. We didn't give up, kept trying, but we couldn't dent the Arsenal defence at all. In fact, I don't think Petr Cech had a real save to make in the game, which says enough about what sort of game we played. But Arsenal, of course, buoyant, because that takes them up towards the top of the league and us down towards the wrong end of the league. And now we come to the favourite time of the season for Newcastle fans, third round of the FA Cup, and we're drawn away, would you believe, at Watford. Now, Watford had already given us a tough time in the league, and we're hopeful that we can get over that and really have a go at this cup and have a proper cup run. The Watford team is Gomez, Nayon, Prodi, Cathcart, Holbass, Gerardo, Guidolora, Watson, Bergus, Dini, and Olare. Good football side, but not a side that we should be frightened of. We're the same. Elliott's still in goal. Perez, Mitrovic up front, and otherwise no changes. And quite a good start. We give as good as we get, and we're unfortunate that a couple of shots from Windjam and Tiote was whizzed past the post and over the bar. But don't do the job. We don't get the ball in the net until near to the end. And then just before half time, on 44 minutes, Dini, their dangerous centre forward, sends in a cracking shot, which Elliott doesn't have any chance of stopping, and makes it 1-0 to Watford right on the stroke of half time. We're hoping that Watford will, we'll have a go at Watford, and they might do a bit. They stand firm, and it's a very predictable neither side scoring in the second half, because they're defending like mad because they don't want to lose it, and we're defending because we don't want to get caught on the break. So it's very, very predictable result. Haven't got the 1-0. Watford hang on to it, and the end of our FA Cup for that particular year, which is quite depressing. We're then home to another difficult game, to Manchester United.
Special game.
Special
game this, George, because obviously it was a tribute to Pavel, and they invited Pavel's family to this game. I was with them. Milani's brother came along with a lot of his close friends. They gave Newcastle United gave his family a box, just the anniversary of Pavel's passing, of course.
Yes, and I realised that when I saw the front of the programme that it was the. But thanks for that memory. It's important, Steve, that we do remember these things, I think. And Pavel was a figure that we all did enjoy having in our team. A good character. anyway, we some trepidation about the game after the results we've had, but the game sets off at 100 miles an hour, of course, and people are biting their nails within 10 minutes because Rooney scored a penalty after a ridiculous handball, but referee gave it, and Rooney makes no mistake from the spot. Just before half time, after 38 minutes, Lingard makes it 2, and then Windjam makes it 2-1 right on the stroke of half time. And it's been an entertaining game, a game worthy of a tribute to anybody. Second half, both teams up for it. You can get the feel for that with Rooney in the side, of course, you cannot lie back at all. It's a huge lift when on 67 minutes we get a penalty for a trip on Perez by Smalling, and Mitrovic makes it 2-2. But unfortunately, we no sooner stopped cheering that when on 79 minutes Rooney makes it 3-2 to them, and everybody thinks, well, that's it, it's not going to happen. And lo and behold, on 90 minutes, with a ball that's come out of nothing, lands at Paul Dummett's feet just on the edge of the box, and in a single swipe, it's 3-3, right on the final whistle. 90 minutes, hardly time to kick off again afterwards. So we get an unexpected 3-3 draw against Manchester United, and a fitting tribute to Pav, who the match was about. But a point importantly for us, not only because it lifted our spirits, but it kept us stable in the league, because we've been heading in the wrong direction for quite a while. And we're sweating a little bit, looking over our shoulders. Next game is a home game against West Ham, and we should be capable of resisting West Ham, particularly at home. And we've got an unchanged side, which is good news for us. West Ham have Adrian, Tompkins, Collins, Obanga, Cresswell, O'Bang, Noble, Coyote, Antonio, Payet, and Valencia, and full of good footballers. We set off at 100 miles an hour. Looks like we're going to take this game no bother at all. On 6 minutes, Perez scores a peach of a goal, and everybody's thrilled with that. But then on 15 minutes, Windjam makes us feel even better, because he makes it 2-0. And every time we go forward, it looks like we might score. Come out after half time, and whatever West Ham had in the half time cup of tea seemed to work, because they immediately went on the attack and put us on the back foot. And it was Elliott that was having to make all the saves instead of Adrian at the other end. And so on 49 minutes, not long after the second half started, Jelavic pulled one back and made it 2-1. And from then on, it was an assault by West Ham on the Newcastle goal. But we resisted, we held off without any danger, really. Elliott, although they were bombarding us, Elliott didn't have that many saves to make. For those that are interested in some of these weird things, this was a game where we actually saw Savet take the field. one of these rare appearances in the shirt on the pitch in the period he was with. And we ran out 2-1 winners, and worthy 2-1 winners. And Tony appeared on the subs bench again as a very young substitute, and so we get a 2-1 victory, which is great for us. stabilises our league position a little bit, and we heave a sigh of relief. And then we see something which makes you wonder about the sanity of Newcastle United and Sunderland at the time. They played a friendly. Now, this is the friendly that wasn't a friendly because it never existed. It was secret. Nobody was supposed to know. They didn't tell the press. How on earth they thought that they could have Sunderland v Newcastle of any description without the press finding out makes you wonder where their sanity was. But that's what they did. So on Wednesday, January the 27th, Sunderland hosted Newcastle United at the Stadium of Light, and McLaren and Allardyce thought that they could get away with this full-scale practice match without there being any comeback. Well, there was comeback. Any game of Newcastle versus Sunderland's got comeback. I don't care if it's kids, school kids, or whether it's an international. It's got comeback, especially when one of the teams wins 6-0. And it wasn't us. It was Sunderland. They fielded a stronger side than us, yes. But the fact is, they tore us to shreds. I mean, it was... on these sheets I use, it tells you what the capacity of the crowd was. Well, in this game, it says BCD, behind closed doors. Well, behind closed doors, Watmore scored a hat-trick, Fletcher scored, and Rodwell scored, and they were 4-0 up at half-time, and just wiped us out. Yes, there's lots of excuses about the fact we fielded some under-21 players as well as substitutes, etc. But to think they could play friendly without anybody knowing just says all to me about where their brains were at the time, and why we were both heading for the wrong end of the table. Anyway, get back to the football. We have Everton away, and if we wanted to go somewhere with your spirits dented by 6-0 victory, Everton's one of the places you wouldn't want to go. But we did. An unchanged team, except that Andros Townsend comes into the team, and Everton field Rubbles, Coleman, Jagielka, Funes Mori, Oviedo, Cleverly, Barry, Lennon, Barkley, McCarthy, and Lukaku, and just on the bench, Baines, Osman, Pinar, and Stanek. Strong bench at Everton. Our bench is Gouffron, Darlow, Taylor, and Dumbia. But it's Everton's game from the off. 23 minutes, Lennon scores a peach of a goal. But they really just could have been 2 or 3 up by half time. The second half comes out, and Everton again well on top. And the only surprise about it is it takes them Bartley till the 88th minute and a penalty at that to get the second goal. Again, a penalty for a dubious handball, but nonetheless a penalty. And then right at the death, the last kick, almost Bartley again makes it 3-0. And I'd like to say that that's a fortunate scoreline for Everton. It wasn't. It's a fortunate scoreline with us. They could easily have given us a real thrashing. So a 3-0 loss at Everton, and only other notable thing was that just before the last Everton goal, which was 94 minutes on the record, Lascelles got into a scuffle with Coney, who'd come on for Lukaku, and got sent off. But by then, there was only a minute to play anyway, so Lascelles sent off in that game. So not our finest hour. So the next game we come home is a home game against West Brom. And now this should give us a chance to recover because West Brom are in the doldrums as we are. We've got an unchanged team in terms of the on-field stuff. Of course, Lascelles not even substitute because he's banned because he was sent off. So Elliott, Jamat, Taylor, Colaccini, Aarons, Townsend, Shelby, Tiote, Sissoko, Windjam, and Mitrovic is who we send out. West Brom, Foster, Olsen, Chester, Jacob, Gardner, and Nicheby from Everton, McLean, Macaulay, Fletcher, Dawson, and Sandro. McLean, of course, is James McLean, who was used to be at the Mackhams, and is still playing now, as it happens. It's not a bad game. People are expecting it to be quite dismal, but in fact, West Brom playing good football, as are we. And so it's no surprise on 32 minutes when Mitrovic makes it with 1-0 with a cracker of a goal, and could easily be more by half time. Second half's the same, end-to-end stuff, but unfortunately, no challenge to Elliott or Foster in goal in terms of goal chances. It was all in the middle of the park, and inevitably ended with a second half which was 0-0, giving us the 1-0 victory, which is sigh of relief for everybody, because at least it's pushing us in the right direction away from the foot of the table. Our next game is Chelsea away. Now they are different kettle of fish. They are in the running to be champions, so we've got to be on our form here. Unchanged team we send. Chelsea has Courtois, Ivanovic, Cahill, Terry, Aspilicueta, Fabregas, Matic, Pedro, Willan, Hazard, and Diego Costa. Well, they're on fire at Stamford Bridge. 5 minutes Costa scores, 9 minutes Pedro scores, 17 minutes Willan scores. So they're 3-0 up at half time, and away fans are looking to the sky for help, because that's the only place it seems to any help's going to come from. But it doesn't. In 59 minutes, Pedro scores again. 83 minutes, Traore scores, come on as a substitute for Diego Costa. And then as a consolation, right at the end, almost last kick of the game, Townsend on 90 minutes scores as consolation for us. And we come away with a 5-1 thrashing. The only way to describe it. Despite all our efforts, there was no way we were going to make a dent on Chelsea on that day. They were really up for it, and caught us well and truly on the hop. So the next game is home game against Stoke City. But before that, we played a friendly against Lillestrøm, which was a long-term arranged friendly by McLaren from his friends in Scandinavia. And it beggars belief to me when in the middle of could be in the middle of a relegation battle that we even think about friendly matches. However, that's what we did, and it was away and a neutral ground in Norway, and we lost 2-1, but we won 2-1 with Windjam and Aarons scoring, but almost an irrelevance, bearing in mind our league position. And we come home on the Wednesday to a game against Stoke City.
Is this away, George? I've got an away program.
Sorry, beg your pardon. It is away. I beg your pardon. I'm looking one match down. Yeah, we away to Stoke City, who, like us, are at the wrong end of the table, and we really should be up for this game. But the best I can say is that it's a typical relegation battle. The middle of the field, neither team want to lose. Very little to do for the goalkeepers, Butland or Elliott, and sails into a 0-0 at half time, and looks like the second half could be the same. But then their little winger, Shaqiri, dangerous little man, on 80 minutes, just outruns our defence, leaves Jamat and Lascelles and Taylor in his wake, and slots in a beautiful goal to make it 1-0 to Stoke. And despite the fact tries we made, there was no way we were ever going to get back into that game against Stoke. Stoke had Butland, Bardsley, Cameron, Woolashide, Peters, Mbula, Whelan, Otranovic, Shaqiri, Afele and Walters is their side. For a side we should really have been challenging and didn't. And the fact that, I mean, the energy, and there was little energy from Newcastle other than in the middle of the park. We never looked like we would threaten them. Where at least when they brought the subs on with Crouch and Diouf, and they did trouble our defence quite a bit. So it was a little surprise when Shaqiri scored the goal. But a bad loss against a team, A, that we should be challenging, but B, even worse, are at the wrong end of the table like we are, and we should be doing better. And next match is a home game against Bournemouth. We got to try and do something in this game, otherwise we're going to be in dire straits. Well, I'm afraid that's not how it goes. Bournemouth come with Burrook, Smith, Francis, Cook, Daniels, Ritchie, Gosling, Sermon, Gradel, Afobe, and King. And we have Elliott, Jamat, Taylor, Lascelles, Dummett, Shelby, Colback, Sissoko, Perez, Windjam, and Riviere. Tells you everything when we've gone back to Riviere to be centre forward, when we've got Mitrovic on the bench, and just beggars belief for me. Anyway, it's first half fairly dismal, and made even more so because midway through 28 minutes we Bournemouth rather get a corner, and Taylor unfortunately thinks he's directing it back to Elliott, and he directed it straight into the bottom corner of the net. So that's Bournemouth 1-0 up before half time. It stays that way, and people think, well, we've got a chance to come back at these in the second half. Well, unfortunately, Bournemouth don't just dig in; they actually have a go at us. And it's no surprise on 70 minutes when King scores a peach of a goal. Then on 90 minutes plus 2, Daniels scores headed from a corner and completely deflates St James's Park, which has 52,100 in it. I mean, it's a team that's struggling at the bottom, and yet we're still making a full house, which is just incredible. 80 minutes to interrupt their scoring. Perez gives us a consolation, and it's 3-1. But not a game we should have been trying to win, and it didn't really look as though we were, to be honest. And it has another significance, of course, and that was Steve McLaren's last game. He went immediately after that game. He was gone as manager, and I don't think there were too many tears on Tyne's side when he went. What was interesting was people biting their nails to see who would take his place, and that replacement was to be an interesting one. Anyway, next game is Leicester City away, who had given us a real run around at home. However, we went with an unchanged team and gave as good as we got. And Japanese Ozaki score in 25 minutes, but we were in it all the time. Second half, we give as good as we got, but we can't score unless they hang on to the 1-0 victory right up to the end. So depressing that yet another game which we really should have been challenging for. We weren't really in it, and it also is interesting to note that during that game, Vardy give our defence the run around, and Lascelles and Taylor and Jamat all were booked for fouls on Vardy, and but Leicester 1-0 winners, which is gives us a something of a headache. Then we return home to a 1-0. Sorry, to the second of the derbies, with the Mackhams at St James's Park. Now, if Derby can't get you, why do you hope nothing will? And we end-to-end stuff is expecting a Derby, lots of hard stuff as well. 5 bookings on us and 4 for them, so it's a typical have-a-go Derby. Unfortunately, in the first half, even Stephen, but on 44 minutes, a little man called Defoe slide through the defence at a corner, the easy tap in to make it 1-0 for the Mackhams at half time. Second half, we look like we're up for it and really have a go, and it's end-to-end stuff, and a fair bit of having a go. Bookings for us: Kolbach, Yamat, Shelby, and Mitrovic. For them, a goalkeeper called Pickford, Manon, and there was the original goalkeeper, and as well as Pickford, the substitute, and Doy for them. So a bit of a hot derby in a sense that at least it did good of a go, but even a draw was disappointing in many ways. But a draw it was, and I think the trepidation for many fans was that oh yes, that's them in their green away shirts, which were unusual, and the worry in the fans' minds was that would the 6-0 friendly thrashing stick in the minds of our players, but as it happens, it didn't particularly, and then we get the news that our manager is to be none other than Rafa Benitez, who's given a very short spell to see if he can rescue us from relegation. We go away to Norwich, and teams slightly different: Darlow, Jamed, Member, Taylor, Anita, Tiori, Shelby, Townsend, Sissoko, Windjam, and Cisse, and with a more attacking look. And Norwich, Ruddy, Wisdom, Bennett, Close, Olsen, Jarvis, Howson, O'Neill, Brady, Naismith, and Mubakani. And it's a good game. We give as good as we got in the first half. Closely scores from the corner and makes it right on half time, makes it 1-0 at half time. Second half, we come back at them, and Mitrovic on 71 scores a peach of a goal. Then, unfortunately, we let ourselves down. That Mubakani gets a peach of a goal from just outside the area on 74, and then Mitrovic again looks like he's rescued her with a penalty on 86. So it's 2-2, and we think we're going to get the 2-2. But then last typical Newcastle, poorly marked corner at the end, and their centre back Olsen heads in on 3 minutes over extra time to make it 3-2 to Norwich. And again gives us a bit more headache in the league in terms of what we're doing. We then have away game to Southampton. Now they give us quite a tough time at St James's, and we expect that we'll get a tough time again. Southampton, of course, have Forster, our old goalkeeper, in goal. Bertrand, Martina, Fonte, Van Dijk, Classe, Wanyama, Tadic, Long, Marnie, and Pelly, and with Ward-Prowse on the bench, and Rameau and Rodriguez on the bench as well. We have Darlow, Anita Member, Taylor, Jama, Townsend, Shelby, Windham, Sissoko, Perez, and Mitrovic. Game sets off, and we don't look comfortable, and it's not surprising. On 4 minutes, when Long, the experienced attacker, makes it 1-0, and then 38 minutes, Pelé, the dangerous left-sided player, makes it 2, and not looking very good for us. We're certainly down in the dumps. The signs that we're giving it a bit of a go. I mean, Mitrovic is putting himself about. He's not being very effective in terms of goal scoring, but at least he's letting Southampton know that we're in the game. And the game's drifting on, and on 55 minutes, Wanyama makes it 3. Then on 65, Townsend scores a peach of a goal as a consolation for us to make it 3-1. But it's a 3-1 defeat, a bad defeat at the wrong time of the season, and we're sliding, unfortunately, sliding. The only comment I make about it is that the team selections now are far more positive than they had been under McLaren. We look like we're playing with players who are interested in attacking the ball and the goal, and not just being on the pitch. So we're at home to Swansea, and Swansea really somebody who should be beat every day of the week. And our team is Darlow, Anita Member, Lascelles, Dummett, Tiote, Colback, Townsend, Sissoko, Windham, and Sissi. Swansea, Fabianski, Rangel, Fernandez, Williams, Taylor, Cork, Fur, AU, Sigerson, Montreal, and Palioshi. It's a good game. We're playing much better than we had been, and on 40 minutes we get a goal from a corner with Lascelles heads in from just underneath the crossbar almost. He was that close to the goal, and we go in at 1-0 half time, and everybody thinking, well, surely this one's in the bag. Well, it is, because Newcastle just played an extra yard faster in the second half, and the substitutes make that even more so. That Mitrovic comes on for Sissi after 80 minutes, Shelby's on for Tiote, Perez on for Windham, and on 82 minutes, Sissoko scores. 89 minutes, Townsend scores a peach of a goal, and we run out 3-0 winners against Swansea. So people have a sigh of relief that keeps us heading in the right direction. And then we have a home game against Manchester City, which again, is going to be tough, and everybody expects it to be tough. But these games are all being played against 50,000 crowds right through. Swansea even 50,000. Manchester City 49,500 for a team that's at the wrong end of the table. But that speaks volumes for our fans, as always. Manchester City game comes, and it's a great game. I mean, they have their talented side: Hard, Zabaleta, Company, Malanga, Kolarov, Torre, Fernando, Navas, De Bruyne, Delph, and Aguero. And it's a side that would bother any team in the league. And first half, good football from both teams. Little surprise when Aguero makes it 1-0 on 14 minutes, and we think, oh goodness, the last time he did that, they walloped us 6-1. But not this time. On 31 minutes, Anita scores a peach of a goal, a real drive from a push out from a corner, and it's 1-1 at half time. And Newcastle give it a go and keeps City quiet, and it ends 1-1. Most valuable point at the stage of the season, and a surprising one because everybody expected City might well give us the runaround. So here we are. We just seen off Manchester City. Well, we just had a draw at Manchester City. But the next game's an away game at Liverpool, and again, it's not really where you'd want to go in the position we were in, and we have to go there, and unchanged side, except that Cisse comes back in instead of Mitrovic. Liverpool, Mingale, Randall, Lovren, Torre, Moreno, Stewart, Allen, Milner, Firmino, Lalanga, and Sturridge. And it's a good high-paced game from the off. And unfortunately, too fast for us, because on 2 minutes, Sturridge scores a peach of a goal to put us 1-0 down. And Newcastle thinking they'll batten down the hatches, I think, but batten down the hatches or not. On 30 minutes, Lalanga makes it 2-0, and we're really, really expecting worse when it comes to half time at 2-0. However, much to our surprise, whatever is said in the dressing room at half time, we look like a different team, and we really take it to Liverpool. And 49 minutes, Cisse pulls the first one back, and that picks the team up a bit more. And then on 66 minutes, Jack Colback, of all people, scores a peach of a goal to make it 2-2. And the surprise after that was that it was back to the wall for Liverpool, not Newcastle. And could have been more surprising at the time, because they'd been playing well. And to pull 2 goals back is something, but to hang on to it to the very end to get a draw was something special, and very valuable point considering the position that we were in. And the next game is home game against Crystal Palace, and we owe them one. They really did turn us over at their place. We've got an unchanged team. Cisse rather, still in the team. Crystal Palace, Hennessy, Ward, Dan, Delaney, Suare, Jednik, Kabai, MacArthur, Bolassi, Puncheon, and Wickham. And on the bench, a little fella called Howard Gale is there. A good game. Both sides playing quite well, but nobody threatening either Hennessy or Darlow in the goals. So 0-0 at half time. Newcastle pick up the pace a bit, and Townsend definitely the man of the match in the second half. He gives Palace a torrid time. And it's no surprise on 58 minutes when he scores a peach of a goal, and that happens to be the goal of the game and the only goal of the game. One of the best games I'd seen Townsend have for us, actually, against Palace. So we get a 1-0 win, and everybody's got a nice big sigh of relief, which we desperate for. And again, Crystal Palace, 52,100 against Crystal Palace. Just unbelievable. A nice picture of Rafa under this. Yeah. The next game is an away game at Aston Villa, and 33,000 in Villa Park for what was when I read it and listen to what people said that were there, one of the most dismal games of football the Premiership's ever seen. It was, they already had their sand shoes on. We were frightened to do anything in case we made a mistake. The net result was two teams bundled in the middle of the pitch with neither making a single threat on goal. Our team unchanged, their team with full of their stars, but neither looking like they would score if we played two games, never mind one game. And the net result was a dismal 0-0 draw. Dismal it was, but at least it gave us a point. However, a point which was fruitless, because by then all the other results were going against us, and we knew that we were headed for the wrong end of the table. I go back to the Aston Villa game. The people in those teams, lots of internationals, and as I say, it just petered out in the middle of the pitch. It was so sad. It was unbelievable. Anyway, we come home then to a game against Tottenham Hotspur, and a memorable game in many ways, because whether it was because they knew their fate that we were down, or whether it was Rafa's pep talk, I don't know, but they came out in this game like lions and just tore Spurs apart. Windjam was putting it mildly, and 2-0 by half time with Mitrovic and Windjam scoring the goals. Then straight after half time, 70 minutes, Windjam got a penalty. Aaron scored, Jamat scored, and Lamela scored a consolation for Spurs to give a 5-1. But it was an incredible defeat of Spurs, who didn't know what had hit them. The downside was there's Mitrovic after he'd scored his goal, but there's another picture I couldn't find of Mitrovic being sent off on 67 minutes for violent conduct. And I think that game, Mitrovic doing what he did in that game, put a picture in Rafa's mind about how long that Mitrovic would stay with us, because he off the ball, my memory is, took his elbow across the face of one of the Spurs players, and we were winning, for God's sake. I mean, it wasn't as though we were losing. There was nothing to be upset about, and it was just crazy. So a 5-1 win to finish the season, but a season which left us on 18th, which of course was enough to send us down. And the big irony, really, was the two defeats, the two games against Sunderland. If we'd even got draws in those games, on both those games rather, it would have been them and not us that would have went down, because they were 17th. And Norwich and Villa were the other two that went down, which is why our game at Villa was such a depressing thing. And it was the fantastic season when Leicester, having been sitting at the bottom of the league when their manager took over, actually won the championship. And they won it. What still surprises me, everybody thinks they must have sneaked it. They won it by 10 points, 81 points. Arsenal are second with 71, Tottenham third with 70, Manchester City 66, Man United 5 with 66. But Leicester, just tore the league apart once they got going. And it made the two defeats we had with them look quite good, because they'd actually hammered one or two people on the way. As usual, the goals against look column is the one that always defeats us. 65 against. You have to get to Villa, the bottom of the league, to get worse than that. They were 76, for God's sake. But then higher than us, you have to go right up to Bournemouth, who is 16th, to get anywhere near our goals against column. And our goals for column, of course, very low as well. So at the relegation season, bite our nails now to find out if Rafa's going to stay or is Rafa going to go. But an absolute typical season of turmoil for Newcastle United. Capitalised, in my view, or epitomised is the word I should use, by having that friendly against Sunderland, which they thought they could keep secret. I mean, how stupid could they be? Never mind. But that's Newcastle United for you.
George, as always, great stuff, mate. Look forward to the next one. Thanks for all your time and effort on that one. Speak to you soon.
Okay, Steve. Enjoy, everybody. Thank you for watching.
A big thanks to all our sponsors, Skips and Bins. You can find them at skipsandbins.com. Contact them, www.skipsandbins.com/contact. Say hello to low-cost waste disposal with pay-as-you-go and contract waste management. A big thanks to Mr. Vicky's Sauces, handmade in Cumbria. Their website, mrvickies.co.uk. Telephone 01768 210 102 or email info@mrvickies.co.uk. Thanks to our NUFC Matters fanzine sponsor, United Group Travel. Travel and Tourism Award winners 2024. There are no strangers on our tours, just friends you haven't met yet. All excursions included, 3-star plus quality hotels, no interchanges, a 2-crew driver and courier. It's a local family company, and you can find them at www.unitedgrouptravel.com or telephone 01670 632 460 or mobile 0791 666 4174. Big thanks to Media Arts for all the help with the technical side of things. And if you want to help support the channel, hit the subscribe button. We do 7 shows a week. Hit the thumb up under the video. That's the like button. It does help us grow. And click the share button. Help share to your social media. If you want to join the channel for as little as $1.99 a month, then hit the join button under this video today. We also help the food bank on this channel. Visit nufcfansfoodbank.co.uk. It takes you to the matchday bucket where you can donate some money virtually. Some events for your diary in aid of Dementia Matters. The Long Sands will be reforming and be supported by Lilac Lane and the Chris Norris Band at the Cluny in Newcastle on Saturday, January the 4th, 2025. Tickets are £15 pre-sale from newcastlelegends.com. An evening with Peter Beardsley takes place at the Tyneside Irish Centre on the 10th of January 2025. Tickets available from newcastlelegends.com or from Woucher. And an evening with the Entertainers takes place on the 24th of January 2025. Telephone the box office 0844 249 1000 or visit the website tynetheatreandoperahouse.uk. And the Magpie Lounge at Gateshead Leisure Centre is now open. 7 talk-ins for £99. Joe Allen will be hosting talk-ins with Lee Clark, John Anderson, Steve Howie, Darren Peacock, Supermac, Steve Watson, John Beresford, all between the dates of January and July. £99 for 7 talk-ins, newcastlelegends.com. And don't forget, you can subscribe to our NUFC Matters fanzine, £20 for 4 issues with all proceeds going to Dementia Matters. If you live overseas, it is £50 for 4 issues. To order now, go to newcastlelegends.com.